Yeah, and exactly what you said was reigns true. That word control here. Just looking at this how this all played out after after we looked at everything, and Bitcoin breaks its range, as you can see on my share screen here, and um, yeah, really just having that understanding of what time frame needs to break and where it needs to break, and it's starting to tie everything together, right? Like finding the right trend with that time frame, which diminishes down to plus one minus one theory, working with it with the 15-minute time frames, and then those breaking, and yeah, really just gives a lot of clarity as to what's happening. Actually, this is another 1 hour level that had been targeted in this trade. So I'm pretty sure I remember this being a 1 hour level. I don't think it was anything else. We can go double check that, but I remember this is the next level we had marked on our screen here. So actually, replay tool is not going to match it. So what we can do is hit the replay tool there and just open that up. A little just a little quick hack that you can do to get further back information. So
Dude, how did you do that?
that's a nice little trick, right?
You
I'll
just
show
do
you.
rewind.
Yeah, but I don't think my amount doesn't come up. I was trying to find what we hit.
So like if you just go and take your time frame and
Yeah,
find the point,
replay.
yeah, you go to your replay tool and say stay on the time frame and just scroll
Oh
back
yeah.
to the candle where it gives you the very last piece of information here. So if we just keep going,
Yeah, I found
um,
it. I couldn't find the 15-minute, I think, on my one. I think the 15-minute cuts out.
oh, this is quite some ways back. Okay, so here you can see like it cuts off here, and then you just take your replay tool and it'll give you the next 1,000 candles if you just cut it there. So it's just a way to kind of hack their system a little bit,
Nice.
just a little quick little
But it
cheat
doesn't
code.
work for 15 minutes, does it?
Yeah, you could do it with 15 minutes if you wanted. You just have to do the same thing. Like if we go to the 15-minute here and we just keep,
Oh, you have to be on the time frame and then go. Okay.
yeah. So like
Okay.
here's the 15-minute. Take the replayer tool, just cut it right where it kind of ends, and then you can just keep going
Okay.
back. Yeah. So it doesn't matter the time frame. You can just cut it, and you can just get more candle information there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, and then obviously if you change time frames, it's going to reset it back to the original. It's just a little way that you can get more data from TradingView. We
Nice,
we
dude.
work with their system a lot, so quick little quick little things like this are pretty easy for us to find in their services there. So yeah, that's just a quick little way you can get to it. And then yeah, so cycle breaks, goes after the next 1 hour. Say la vie. That's where we are on Bitcoin. Going from 1 hour to the next 1 hour, right? And then targeting the next time frame up because it was the 15-minute, right? And then when this breaks, you're gonna go and target the 4 hour because that's gonna be your next kind of target because you're going after the target it broke, right? Because you broke the 15-minute down there, and then so now you're just gonna go up here to this 4 hour here. So you could even just mark both of them. That's fine. Here and oopsies, no, I want to reload. Copy paste that. Get to here. So this is really going to be where you're looking at 4 hour time frame here. I don't think
You,
I would really use the backside here. I'd probably just use the further range up.
you're gonna target those 4 hours of whip breaks.
Just this hourly right here, just because it's going after time frames up at this point. So, down on the bottom there, we had broke 15-minute information here to get to the hourly target, which is here and here and here. And I can still go after hourly targets, but 4 hour would be next that could stop this thing until it, and then it breaks a 4 hour, and then 4 hours is going to go after the daily, and then daily to the weekly, and then eventually something has to hold it down because that's part of the cycle to create a Pandora's box, right? Like you're gonna have one time frame stop it until it hits that time frame up, and then it's gonna Pandora's box down, right? And then that same thing, that same trajectory just reverses to the other side. So then if let's for example say if you break this hourly and you go after these 4 hours, and then those break, and then you're gonna go after maybe like a daily up here, and if that daily were to stop it, and it actually doesn't break the move, and you've got a daily down below it, like let's just pretend this is a daily right here, then if you hit that, then you're in a Pandora's box to see which range can hold, right? Because that's then answering the kind of the follow-up question as to what would be next on all of this. Do Pandora's boxes when it stops, right? Because it's like gonna go time frame up, time frame up, time frame up, and then until it finally hits a wall. And then if that same wall is down here, then you know that okay, you've hit kind of both of those points, and now you're in that Pandora's box mirror to see which trends will break, to see which side is gonna go, or like if you don't, say you had a 4 hour here instead, and then you hit this in the 4 hour, like then you're just looking for a higher target up. So when you're just looking to see what happens, that kind of piece of information is, usable not as your daily was here and you're trying to target this just because it's the next time frame up. Like there's no guarantee that that stops. Like, if that's your daily up here, move this out of the way real quick. If that's your daily up there and it, say pretend this is red because it's a daily. If that's your daily there and then, you have a daily down here and you go from daily to daily, like it's kind of just like, well, you should either take this buy, but it doesn't give you anything on this side. Or that if there's, a 4 hour here and it goes daily to 4 hour, that you should take the rebuy here to try to break this for the longer trade, right? So having that information about, you've got the 4 hour here and that breaks in the daily here, it doesn't really do anything for these trades up here. Like it can if you want to take a risk on those next up levels. Like they're good positions, but then to be mindful that, if you were to take this 4 hour and, there's a 4 hour here, if you never hit that 4 hour level, you've got to get out of that trade, right? But if you do hit that 4 hour level, it's a good spot to either just see if you should take profits or if it's going to further break down. But, as soon as it starts climbing out of its local range, then this trade here on that daily would have to exit based on that local range break, or that, whatever that little micro range is inside of there that, hits that daily and goes to something else and creates that mirror. So it doesn't do anything for like the long-term positions. I guess you could consider that long-term depending on how long it took for that daily up here to go down here. But it does give you a spot to say like, okay, well, if this is the daily and there's a daily down here, right? If those are two dailies and you never hit this one, you've got to get out of this trade. So it just kind of shows you like, you're just going time frame up, and then we just do the same thing where we're mirroring, attacking other time frames, and everything we've done with ranges, and then it's all just repeatable, right? Everything we've done with ranges to see like, okay, here's the hourly range. The 15-minute can hold it. When it breaks, it's going to fly up to its next targets, et cetera, right? So yeah, like it can give you some information, but it can't give you, it's not like, identifying ranges themselves and how to work with these is much more powerful. I don't even know if I'd say more powerful. I would just say it's different.
In
So
that
like,
range there, that's the one you marked that you said it was super obvious, right?
which one?
That range, I
Like
think it's
this,
a 15-minute trend right there.
these ones down here?
Yeah, I think that was the one you taught us initially, right? When we
Yeah,
started all this.
yeah, exactly. The 15 minutes kind of hold it up through the 1 hour that was onset by this larger part of the move from back here. And that was kind of the point. Like once you have this trend and you have the time frame there, and it shows you how it's going to break it. Now it's just into the next range right now. It's just, and I don't think it's done this, but it's likely going to go up here to this 56K mark. So it's just, I don't think it's done. I don't think this hourly stops it. And if the hourly does stop it, then you're looking at going back down here, and Pandora's boxing maybe between those two, but I just don't see it. I think you're just going to kind of hold this move right here and just keep moving up. Yeah, likely just kind of hold something like this. I don't exactly know where the levels are. I haven't actually charted this since we last charted about a week ago, so I actually haven't updated anything. This blue level was white. I just turned it blue as we were doing this, and and maybe even you just go down to like this hourly, combo it to this part of the move, or just RA measure it and just see what that looks like. I think that's 50%. It's a good amount. It's not nothing. Maybe I think I would go for the hourly here instead of the daily.
That's a 4 hour con.
Oh, sorry, 4 hour here. Yeah, 4 hour, 4 hour, 4 hour. I've got daily on the brain because I keep saying daily information. Let's mark the hourly here. Yeah, and you're just measuring your RA at this point, 40 something percent. It's actually a bit more, 45, 70. That's obviously too much. But this 4 hour is not bad. And then you also have this hourly down here, which is a 4 hour. So you actually have a measurement to this because this is already hit. So that's your hourly trail. If this were to break down, it's going to have to go after this level here, which is your 4 hour. Let's do this. Actually, let's go dash line here, and then let's just go to the 15. See if there's any hourly information. It's quite possible there is, like back in here. So now you've just got your different levels here as to what's going to be hit. With this trail hitting this 15 so perfect, your best bet here might just be to go for that 15 there. Yeah, you might just be best going right here.
When you go for the 15 before as well, Cotton, on the bottom.
Like down here,
No, higher up on the left.
like over here.
No. Where you put the 15, just the candle before.
Oh, like where the hourly is there?
The one on the
Like
bottom.
this right
The
here?
origin.
This right
The
here?
origin. Left.
This?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about it?
On the left. The valley before.
Oh, like right here. Yeah.
Yeah,
You'd go
yeah.
right here. Sorry, my mistake. I didn't. I
It's all
think
good.
I wasn't not paying attention there. Yeah, that's the 15-minute right there. Yeah, and like you're looking at this, and then you have to decide like which level makes the most sense here. I mean, you just doing your RA measurements, right? Like you've hit an hourly up top, so that already gives you a lot of information that you need. So you can already kind of write off this level, write off the 4 hour. Like it's a pretty large spread. So the first level I would consider taking would maybe be this at 50% between all of them. What is that? The hourly level, hourly to hourly. I might try to refine it down and just go for the body actually. Limit. Yeah, I think the body is where I'd like to go. Just because I feel like the risk is just a little bit weighted a little bit better. Here, 50%, that's a pretty big 66% if it hits this. Like that's what I want to avoid. A liquidation where it reverses this but stays above that and creates some kind of really disgusting flat trend. So like that's the situation I'd want to avoid, and that's can be a liquidation there on some exchanges. So I think I would just end up going for the body to protect it all. And that if I was going to take a trade, like I'm still fairly certain it's going up here. At least this diminishes some risk. It's not a lot of risk to diminish though, but there's got to be a point where you just cut this off. What about the 15? Yeah, the 15 is the wick. Maybe you just go for that 15-minute wick. As this hourly has been back tested, moves up here. Got basically an hourly as well right here. Back test up. You've got the daily, and then that kind of leaves you with this as well. Like I'm never taking this. I'm always just taking this level down. There's just too much there. I would always just take this as a first trade, and if something else bounces it, you can easily just enter the re-entry. Like you don't need to really just sit there and kind of think too much about this trade. Yeah, I think on this trade you just pick this spot right here, 49,418. Seems like the most reasonable spot given all the risk that you can do, given all the RA work you can do. Protects against every trade, and if you never get there, you can just get a rebuy off one of these. If the 4 hour hits, then you just look for the hourly and so forth and so forth. I think that's the best way to do this because you're kind of just too many levels, too much depth in the chart to move down against it. You did bounce this 4 hour level here, so you could bounce out, but you also could reverse it too. Like it depends, right? And I think that if you have a 4 hour level up here, I think there's also a case where you never reach this 4 hour level and you actually just move up from the current range because you're going to use that as your Pandora's box target from here, likely from here actually to here. And I think that's like what your first kind of short that you should be thinking about with this trade, seeing this 4 hour and seeing how it's, because you can already kind of see the setup is happening, right? Like you've already got this here is hit perfectly. Let's just go verify that and zoom in a little bit. But yeah, I can tell it's been hit already. It's pretty perfect. It's been hit perfectly. And this is your next 4 hour to hold up that ladder. But you kind of can't really go after that 4 hour until you go here. Not safely anyways. Like at that point, then I would go for this 4 hour if you hit this. But I think those are decent trades to engineer because you can see that you've got the 4 hour trail starting here. You got nothing here. That's fine. You don't really need anything here. That's fine. Once you break over this range here, you're just going to ladder off that 4. I don't think you're ever back testing this trend to test if it can hold because that range isn't really significant. It's not that significant. It's there. It's a range, but it's not a significant range that it has held price for years on end. You know what I mean? Like it's just not. I wouldn't go for a back test on this. I would just simply go for the ladder point. So I would really look to start thinking about like taking this trade to here or this trade to here. I think if you get to these 4 hour levels first, this is fine. But I think if you are going down into the range first, there's no cause or reason to, other than this continuing the ladder of this to the next one, there's no real reason here to have a 4 hour as a target. Rather, I think you're just seeing the hourly gets hit. You're going after the 15 to offset the move. Hit the hourly, hold the 15 in your Pandora's box in between these two. You break the local range, you go for this 4, you back test this 4, and it just becomes kind of very simple and straightforward to see. So you know, when you're talking about ranges like this and combining all these things, I think that's a piece that everybody has to be mindful of is when you're trying to find these targets, like there's the logic flow. You always have to go back to the logic flow. Like you've got a 4 hour here. So this should technically be the ladder point. But that would also say an hourly is holding down against the 4 hour, technically breaking the move while also holding it up on this side. So now you're superset to daily information where you just go down to this daily target and then you reverse that to offset something on the bottom. Like you just get into this endless game of offsetting things against other things. But really right now, the master time frame is the hourly. As you can see, that's what's holding it back. So you really want to be able to just say like, okay, well, where's the 15-minute targets that can break that move? And like you do have one right here. I just like going a little deeper in the range here. I think it's just a little smarter to go deeper in the range. You also have hourly stuff down here. You have an hourly here. This hourly is tested. So if you were to hit this 15 after this hourly here was already tested. We haven't marked as a 15, but it's actually an hourly. So this hourly was already tested, right? So you've come up to this range, you've created an hourly, you've tested this hourly to go to that hourly. Hit that other, you know, this was the wick, this was the body, something like that, as we had both marked. So like I really like this 15-minute laddering this hourly to take you to this 4, Pandora's box to this 4, which opens up targets on either side, and you create your trend work to see like, do you get into the next range or are we moving down still, right? Like very, very simple repeat pattern that we always see. Very simple. I don't want to say simple, but very straightforward, I guess is the, you know, more appropriate way to say it. Very straightforward way to see like what target is next. And, you know, even right now, if you just move straight up, and another thing you can do to help with control on this trade, speaking on control, is like, look, you just do what we always do, time frame up. Like we can't use daily, there's nothing there. Can't use 4, there's no trend. We got an hourly, perfect, perfect, perfect. Got an hourly from here to here. Got it, and it's very local, very, very local range trend, allowing the higher parts of this to be attacked by breaking this trend here. Then you can even global local it like this to this, and then if you can break this, you're allowed to go to that next range. And you know that's really what you have to start looking at when you're taking these targets. Like if these targets hit and execute, can they break these trends? And if they can, then you're just good to stay in the trade. You just literally stay in the trade. There's nothing else to discuss with that. You just stay in and everything is good. And then that's, you know, part of this, and seeing, you know, hourly here, hourly down there, let this 15-minute down here get hit, and then, you know, let it get hit and take you to break those trends. And, you know, I think that's where you also can engineer the trade. You have your breaking of these moves, even if you were to go down this 3% trade, and you might pull back or you might break it to go up to here. And that's a nice 5%er right there to go to hourly here, or even 15 to 15, where the highest 15 would be, which is likely first set right there. And then you've got that there, which is hit, and you've got that there, which is hit. You've got this one, which is not hit. The backside is hit, but you don't have the front side hit. So that's kind of like a good gauge on this trade. And, you know, you go to here, you take a short there, and then you short it to something like one of these 15 minutes. That's, you know, and then you take that short up higher, because if the 15-minute hold, then obviously you're kind of good to go. Just, like it's literally the same thing we looked at down here, right? Like, this, right? Like it's almost the same thing. Like you're cycling the trend to find the time frames. We already have the master time frame, which is the hourly, so we're going to use this hourly here. I'm sure it'll cycle out to we can get rid of that one. I'm sure it's going to cycle out to here. Once it hits this, you know, it's going to go hit that cycle, hold another 15, and then when that breaks, you fly up to that target up there, right? So you could almost just go back to this right here, study the way this all happened and reacted, and just apply the same exact principles to here, because it's all the range is doing. It's just finding the targets to make it break, and then you'll also see when those things deviate, that also breaks it down and makes the move collapse. So just, you know, speaking about range work in the current range like we did last time, that's kind of how I would look at it. Master time frame to reveal the time frames that we need. Like this master reveals that it's the 15 that we're still on. And then when this hits, this reveals that it's the hourly is the master, or the 4 hours the master, and then, you know, the hourly is what we're looking for to see which side deviates that break. And it's literally just repeating that pattern for ranges, right? The key is master time frame. Get that right, and you should be flying with this stuff, because it's master time frame, and then it just tells you what time. Like it's like having an instruction book. Like it's just telling you what time frame to use. So now you're just marking levels and seeing which one holds, and if that one holds, it's just like, okay, I'll take the trade. So there's kind of a simplicity to it in a way. Well, not kind of, actually very, very straightforward simplicity. Once you understand the ranges at that level is very, very clear, I guess is the best way to put it.
In this one, the master time frame is determined by that highest accumulation candle wick.
Yeah, your master is coming from back here. Like your
Oh,
master
I
is
got that
coming
wrong.
from right here. That's the level that was hit. So you're never going up from here and saying like, oh, and even me starting that just to show you the local range, I wouldn't actually go to the 4 hour there. I would be using the hourly or down because it's just connected to this time frame. You're just working from this time frame, created the event, and this time frame is the only one that can technically exist. So like the hourly. So like when you break this trend, you're cycling the move. You're starting a cycle, and as long as that hourly can be held up by 15s, the move is moving up.
But the master time frame here is determined because that 1 hour accumulation wick is the highest one.
No, the master
Where you
time frame is determined by this right here from the past.
oh
Like you can't take an hourly and then start looking for 4 hour information up here. You're taking an hourly and working down from there. The fact that I just did it was just habitual. The fact that I went and said, okay, daily here, no good, 4 hour, no good. That's purely habitual. I would have, even if I found a 4 hour, I would have ended up changing it to the hourly. Because you can't have an hourly and then a 4 hour trend above it. You have an hourly with an hourly trend. Or lower. Could be lower, could be 15, could be 5. But then that just means the move is going to just move that much faster. If it was a 5-minute trend, you don't, getting held on 3-minute levels with a 5-minute trend is going to break pretty quick. You know what I mean? Like time frame relevant to the actual time that passes in real life. It's going to be quick if it was a 5-minute trend or like even a 3-minute trend or whatever that point is. But that's kind of what you see when you see moves like this, where it's pretty quick. Like it happens fairly fast. Like you can already see like all these 3 little moves up here past this range, they're all happening fairly fast. And I would just wonder, you've broken this hourly, and you don't have any trends there. You have this here, and then have probably, I just don't think you've hit your range target yet. So like you just break this trend, you move up to that trend, see like 5-minute levels. You have that trend follows, this trend follows, and then it just snaps up, right? So like you already know what time frames to use. So like you see this, and then it's like, oh well, like of course after that hard close happens, the pump is, then it's live. Then you're off to the races, right? Then you're up here in the next range. And like, but that's also could be the byproduct of just having small time frames, right? Like I just don't think you've hit your target yet on this trade. Like you don't even have really any ranges here. You're just kind of moving straight up. Breaks that. Cycles the move. You're starting to break. At this point, you're just looking for 15-minute levels to hold you up. At this point, it's just 15 here. You're just looking for 15 up. Level holds you up. See what I mean? Like pretty straightforward. Like body or wick, do your RA measurement. Like, was it worth missing the trade? I don't even know if that trade missed or hit. Actually, it just barely misses, but like, what's the measurement? Are you missing this trade over this? 12%? Yeah, probably reason, like that you're missing a trade over 12%. It's kind of like if you know the 15 minutes holding the move, you're gonna forfeit these profits over 10%. Like that's your own thing. You know what I mean? That's just like a misunderstanding. Yeah, and then you hit your target and say la vie, right? Like it's all the master time frame. It just tells you like your hourly is the target. So if you're gonna break this hourly trend here and the 15-minute holds you up, like I guess it has to be adjusted a little bit to here. Just because I think when we put it on the candle, it was not quite done. I marked it on the 15-minute candle before it actually had its final little push up. But again, that's fine. Breaks them. 15-minute holds against an hourly trend. Trend's breaking. Straight up, trend's breaking. And you're seeing the same thing here. 15-minute levels down here are going to hold it up, and if they do, then you're gonna. I would almost even wonder if there's a 5-minute origin that's currently holding this up. Go to, can't be that. Can't be any of that. What could it be?
It's a 15-minute. Yeah.
15-minute holding it up. Did that already hit once on the left side? Yeah, it actually technically did. So 15-minute holding it up. Almost wonder if there's also a 15-minute level somewhere, or yeah, well, you've got a 15-minute here. That's not really what we want to use because it's already kind of broken through, and yeah, this is a little sloppy. I don't really like this, but
Oh.
anyways, the principle stays the same. You've got a 15-minute level, and yeah, that's pretty rough. Having to dive 30% to be in this trade right now, that would be pretty rough. I mean, you'd be in a good position if you took it, but you know, I kind of just revert back to the fact that you've got levels down here that can hold the move.
That one, I took that as well, and I got stopped out.
Which one?
That 15-minute origin, I took that long, and I got stopped out. My stop was at like 35% because I was
This
waiting
one
for my
right here?
computer. Yeah,
Oh, that's rough.
yeah, dude.
Oh, your stop just got hit. This is so brutal. That's so brutal. And you know, I like what and so this happened. This has happened to me too. Like this has happened to me a lot of times in the past. Like I've been trading now for a long time, and this happens. It happens to all of us. And part of me designing chart raters and everything with a 1-to-1 liquidation ratio and 0 fees and stuff like that. It's really important because this it can happen from time to time, and it's just not a good feeling, right? Like it's just not a good feeling because you're right, but you're getting punished for being right due to a system that is impeding your ability to take trades properly because you've got the weight of fees against you as well as liquidation rate. So now, as 35% felt like good spot to stop out, really at the end of it, like that's more than halfway to liquidation. Like you would actually be at about 60% if you adjusted your stop based on actual value. So like the algebra equation of actual value AV divided against your current expected value, like your 35% stop loss is actually equal to 60%. Because at 65%, you'd be liquidated. So 32.5% was a true 50%. So 2.5% against that. It would probably actually be closer, not 60%, maybe like 57%, something like that. But actual value wise, your stop, if all things were fair and equal in trading, your stop would have actually, the same number would be here for the same amount of losses, plus the fees of 6%. Or for, you can just say even 4% on 100% against the expected value of 65%, which means it has 35% above your, even if it was 4%, now you have to add another 1.3%. So you're actually at a 5.3% stop, right?
Mhm.
So now you're actually closer to 57 plus another 5 points. So you're actually close to 63% is the actual same relative value. So just as a little note, like that's not fun because we have to adjust our trading values and metrics and the places our stops are based on this. So just something to look forward to. I guess the point of this is in chart raters, a true 1-to-1 liquidation where 100% is liquidation, not 99%, not 98, a true 100%, and no fees. Like those are all things that are coming this year with chart raters. So like that's going to be really, really awesome for everybody because it's, it's just going to change the way people trade a lot. So that's going to be really cool.
Con, just quick question. I feel
Yeah.
like my brain went blank from our last lessons. Going time frame up, is that like a? So obviously, we broke a 15-minute at the bottom, which is why you said we were targeting the hourly that we just hit, and then our next range will be the 4-hour above us. Is that like a theory of like Pandora's box where you're going up in time frame?
Well, so
Like you're unraveling yourself.
yeah, and so like a Pandora's box is going to take one time frame and mirror it into the next, right? So like that's your Pandora's box 2.0. You're mirroring, you're using +1 and -1 to find out where that Pandora's box is going to break on either side. So like you just pull it back to the master time frame. So right now we have and it's information inside of information. Like even if you were to go to like oopsies, not that one. Go to the weekly and find like a weekly trend that goes from here wherever this thing is going to pull back, right? Like it's all master time frame dictated. So you have something like this, and let's say this is the weekly. Like let's say we pull back here enough for a few weeks that we can actually call this a weekly trend, right? And so like that weekly trend will target a weekly level on the bottom. So you see your first stop is kind of down here at 47K. So like then you're, this is your first part of the move. This is a weekly level right here. Now, if a daily decides to hold it up, then that Pandora's box is going to be breaking, right? Because you're talking about targeting one time frame up. Well, that is what you're doing on the bottom. So if this trend down here were the weekly and you were to go between trend to trend right here, so like even if you were to drop right now 36%, if one of these weekly or these daily trends stops you before you hit your weekly targets, or even down right here, like at the bottom of this, making it maybe a monthly overtime if it keeps hitting, that's a possibility that could also happen. But you're when you target a time frame above, you're breaking whatever your master is. When you target a time frame below, you're breaking the other side of it, right? So for example, if this weekly here were to target a daily on the bottom, this weekly is going to be breaking, right? Because this daily is offsetting the weekly, because technically it should go from weekly to weekly, right? So if you're going weekly to weekly, that creates a Pandora's box. If a Pandora's box can never be created, it just means you haven't hit your final target yet. If you have, say, like an hourly trend in the moment and you target a 4-hour level below, so like if you were here, you have this hourly trend. Let's delete this because it's not actually true yet. You have an hourly target here, but you target a 4-hour below. You're starting to break the chart down, because really you should be creating a Pandora's box. So like once you have your master time frame, it should find the mirror target to create a parameter that allows you to say, okay, here is the hourly. It's either going to hit an hourly or a 15 on this side, and then an hourly or a 15 on this side. But then, and then that gives you your trends, right? So then you have like a pretty clear set of trends. But if it hits the hourly, you know that it needs to hit the hourly down here. Oh, if it hits this hourly, but then this 15-minute stops it, it means this is starting to break, right? And then so you have a 15-minute, and then it, you see what target it hit originally, because then you get into the question of, okay, well, like, did we just not hit our final target yet? Because if this side here, let me just back up a few. If this top one is the hourly, and if that one gets hit here, so like if this does hit that hourly, and you hold a 15-minute here, and then you have another hourly here or a 15-minute here, this hourly needs to hold it. If you were to go to this hourly, it just means you haven't hit your target on the bottom yet, because you've just got an hourly set of trails that are moving down, and maybe you're going to go after this or a further hourly target, or maybe even a 4-hour target down here to break it. But if you were instead to hit this hourly, if you were then to go and target this 15, now you've got a mirror between this 15 and this 15, right? Meaning that those hourlies are starting to break. So then if you had a 5-minute or a 15 here, then you would go, okay, so if it hits the 15, then he's going to Pandora's box until, maybe there's a 5-minute here and it hits that 5-minute.
Yeah, like we did last time when you
Yeah,
were setting up
exactly.
that trade. Yeah.
So like when you're talking about
Okay.
moving up and down time frames like that, it's about understanding your master time frame, because the master dictates where the Pandora's box is. The Pandora's box dictates what time frames need to be hit next, and then when that deviation occurs, that's when you see, oh, okay, that's breaking. It's just like here when we had that, here's the hourly. There was hourlies down here, but then the 15 started to deviate it, and then you just really used 15 minutes to supersede this whole entire set of trades, and then you have an hourly. The hourly's breaking, and you're breaking the hourly with 15 minutes. Like, it's telling you your hourly's breaking. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
And
like
that's a
when you
really good point that you brought that up. So that's what we're going to lead to my next question. So we hit the hourly, and that was the controller back then.
yes
We've hit hourly now, which is why it's
yes
the controller of the time frame that we should look at right now.
yes
Why have you looked at the 4 hours above as the next range?
oh yeah,
Because
so
I'm just a
that's
bit confused about when you're looking at the time frame up.
oh
Why are we
yeah
looking at the time
yeah.
frame up?
Well, when you start breaking levels, like, you have to eventually offset it with something bigger, because then that just goes back to like a bigger scope from all the way back here, right? Like because you're focusing on the hourly information here, but then before that happens, you have an hourly range trend here that got hit. So if that 4-hour could stop this move, maybe you could break your range trend and move down further, right? So
Okay.
it's not that I'm necessarily looking up from this. It's that there's other higher time frames here that are also in play. I'm not necessarily taking this time frame and just saying let's move up. Although it is a very, very great coincidence that we have an hourly in the next time frame. It would
That makes
target is
sense.
this 4.
Okay.
It could also just straight up go after the daily up here. It's not to say that the 4 hours guaranteed to stop it. I think that's a pretty smart spot to take a trade. But you could also go to the daily up here, and then you really are Pandora's boxing between, you know, that 2 master time frames of this range trend against that. So you could, but I think the 4 hour, like, it has to hit, it has to pull back first anyway. So I think it's just like a great spot to start looking. And then when you actually look at the chart here and like the depth of some of these levels that have been hit, like you have an untested 4 hour here that just laddered this 4 hour. So like it just kind of is all lining up so that this 4 hour is pretty nice, because you've got the ladder here, which is that level there, which is showing you that there's an untested ladder point here. And this is all being onset by this daily anyway. So if you have a daily range trend, the only thing that could offset the daily is the 4. And then conveniently enough, we just have this 4 to pull it back to here. So this is more of a accumulation of factors that I like working together based on this. Because this
that makes total sense.
This could technically break, and it would first break by getting stopped at this 4. But this 4 could then just hit it, ladder it, and continue the move up. And then you just get, you know, like a new daily like that against this. So that would create like a nice cycle for this to say, okay, can I hold this, or is this going to break? And then does this, you know, fan out to here, and then do we eventually break down into the weekly? So like this specific example, it's a very nice convenient accumulation of all of these happenings all at once, like all of these things occurring at once, onset by the bigger time frame that had happened, not necessarily the master hourly, although that is contributing and helping us just make this decision clear. Because if you were to break an hourly on any other, disregard everything else. If you were to break a 15-minute level somewhere, you would have an hourly stop it. Like if you were to break a 5-minute level, you'd have a 15-minute try to stop it, because that would just be the thing. You're breaking out of the 5-minute cycles to go to the 15. And then if the 15 can hold it, or you know, if the 15 can hold it, then you're against the hourly from prior, right? So this is accumulation, or a culmination of efforts all against each other in this specific example, which it just conveniently lines up. And that's sometimes where some of the best trades come from, is, you know, there's kind of a clarity in this where, you know, you've got the daily range, there's a 4-hour level there, and then there's a 4-hour level to offset that 4-hour level to create a micro Pandora's box to attack the higher range to do the higher Pandora's box between daily to daily. So like it's just really nice setup, and like a lot of good easy trades exist in spots like this.
It's weird. Suddenly -1 and now +1 just clicked in my head. I never understood what the +1 was, and that kind of just makes perfect sense.
Yeah, +1 -1 is always just like the measurement of
I've
what
always
are
looked at
these time
-1 for
frames.
some reason.
Well, yeah,
I've always
there's
just
like a
focused on
measurement of
-1.
what are these time frames telling us against each
Yep.
other, right? Like what side
And
can
then
break.
final question: how far in time frame would you look at this? For example, for me on the bottom at 15,862, we create a daily origin. So that's a weekly strength. So would you look at also daily to the top, or would you look at more the interior range with the daily and look at 4-hour to offset you?
I mean, I'm looking at it all. If that weekly if that daily origin on the bottom hits, executes, and is all of a sudden turned into a weekly, yeah, like if a daily stops you on top, I would expect it to break on the bottom. But then you have to, you know, that's a very
Long
funneled
time frame.
answer, because you have to see what hits after that. Like so much could happen between now and then. Like I always say, we can see one step in the future. Like I've said that kind of since day one, and for reasons like this, because yeah, okay, fine, you have a daily origin on the bottom, and if you hit it, then you create the weekly, and you know, and then so you hit a daily on top, which offsets the weekly on the bottom, but then does a 4-hour offset the daily that was hit up top, and you actually just haven't hit your target. So like there's a part of that equation, like if you see that this, let's just say this was a weekly level because of an origin or whatever, I guess it would be a flat level, but okay, let's say this is the weekly level here, and then, you know, you go up to hit this 4, and that's or this daily, and that's offsetting the weekly, but then you come down and you hit this daily, or this 4-hour to offset this daily. It's just like this hasn't reached its final target, and then you're just still moving up. So, you know, you can't tunnel vision it too much, because like we can see that we've got a weekly, and we can see that the daily, but what we can't see is that 4-hour going to be able to offset it, because there might be information that happens between that doesn't allow it. And then if this becomes true, it just means this hasn't reached its final target. So like it's just kind of like
Yeah.
you're kind of too nuancing too far in the future to you can see
Yep.
one step ahead but not two, because we don't know what's
Mm-hmm.
going to happen between the time that that daily level gets hit. We just know it's going to get hit. Hey, there could be a news article that comes out that says I don't know, like the major banks accept credit cards, or sorry, that the major banks are accept crypto, and then all of a sudden it pumps to 63 like in 10 minutes, or it could take
Yep.
us 6 months because there's no news, but we know that target is going to get hit based on X. So how fast that happens could be off, the end goal, the price action doesn't change, but the time it takes to get there, that could definitely change. It just means it would spike up fast and it would spike down faster, but the targets are all the same,
Well, thanks for explaining that for me.
you know?
Thank you.
So